Alright guys, so I promised it, and now I'm delivering a review of The Chosen Season 2. Let me just start by saying, I feel like this is gonna be a hard video for me to make because like, in my reviews, I always like to be goofy and off the cuff and wild and crazy. And The Chosen is more serious content. And I always feel like it's harder for me to review serious content because I can't be crazy like I normally am. But I'm gonna try to keep things interesting. So let's take a look. The Chosen Season 2, Episode 1. There's already 3 episodes out at the time of me shooting this video, and I'm just gonna be behind on my reviews a little bit, but I'm at least gonna try to deliver them like I promised. The Chosen Episode 1 of Season 2 starts off on a very interesting note. We're gonna kind of do a recap of the episode and then my brilliant, amazing thoughts. Now, at first, the beginning's a little bit confusing because you're trying to figure out what's going on. What you see is all these disciples sitting around talking about Jesus like he's gone somewhere, like he's not there anymore. I'm confused, especially because I see Peter. Peter was one of the biggest things that gave it away. He looks like he's 10 years older, like he's got like gray hair in his beard, and I'm like, what happened to you, bro? What? Where? Why? I'm just confused. But I mean, I realized eventually, so they're not doing a flashback, they're doing a flash forward after Jesus has died and is buried and resurrected. So they start with about 10 minutes of creating a setting for this season 2, and you realize John is writing the gospel, so he's asking people questions. Matthew does a shameless plug for his own gospel. I mean, this is like me going on a movie set, going in front of the camera and saying, hey, go check out my movie over here. It's shameless. I mean, look what this guy says.
It was the 4th morning of the 3rd week of the month of Adar, sometime during the 2nd hour.
It doesn't have to be precise.
Why wouldn't it need to be precise? Mine will be precise.
So either way, it took me a couple seconds to catch on, but I think it was a really cool way to start the season. So on from there, we start the actual present day world of season 2 with James and John. And James and John are just being James and John. They're the ones who drive the name of this episode. You see them plowing a field, which confuses me because they're plowing a field by like their own muscle, which I mean, I understand they're out there trying to express their manliness, like, yeah, I'm real strong, I can pull a plow. Were horses not a thing back then?
Hello, I'm Mr. Red. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to one.
No, go away, Mr. Ed. I wasn't talking about you. I'm just trying to talk about horses. I honestly feel like getting a garden hoe would be quicker than what they were doing. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But anyway, we start the episode with a little bit of humor while they're cracking some jokes and being, James and John, just like they are. And the field actually carries on a little bit into the story, like we'll talk about a little bit later. Can I also say, I love this intro. I mean, it's so cool because you have the fish saving fish. I guess that's what's happening. I mean, it's just so awesome. I love it. So next up, we meet Thomas yet again. Thomas had, if I'm not mistaken, only one appearance in season 1. So now inside of season 2, he's in the first episode with, I guess it's like his betrothed. I don't know if they're married yet, but her name is Ramah. And they're traveling to go be with Jesus, doing what men typically do, arguing about directions. Look, when it comes to directions, men are always right. I mean, no one's gonna argue with me on this video because I run the YouTube analytics and it's like 90% men who watch my video. So can I get an amen in this house? Let's go. So this also is one of the driving forces for this first episode where Thomas is, obviously betrothed or whatever to Ramah. And Ramah has like this grumpy father. He's like kind of just like gruff and grumpy, and he's almost a little bit annoying.
I'm grumpy.
But you understand his concern a little bit, because like in his head, he's like, oh no, Thomas is running off with my daughter to go be with Jesus, some man who doesn't do any work and just like preaches all the time. Obviously that's not me saying that, but like someone who doesn't know Jesus, that's kind of how he perceived Jesus. And so it looks like his son is just off being a hobo, and he's thinking this man's not going to be able to take care of my daughter. So this drives some of the dialogue. It's a very interesting conflict, and it creates very realistic characters. So after this, we finally get to see the disciples, the moment we've been waiting for. So we see like Peter and Matthew geeking out over here with all his numbers, and Peter, I don't know if this was meant to happen, is he's talking about Rubik's cubes.
Rubik's? cubits per hour?
Hey, Peter was ahead of his time. What can I say? So apparently, Jesus has gone missing. And the disciples are like, where is he? Because Jesus is growing in popularity and everybody wants to hear what he has to say. They're gathering by the swarms because, you know, Jesus is just popular now. And that's what I think is going to happen throughout this season. He's going to continue to grow in popularity. So Jesus is out helping somebody. They're hunting for them. But it's just great to see the disciples again while they chat a little bit, reestablishing their great personalities because it's really cool. Each of the disciples has their own kind of personality. I think the most prominent as far as personality are Peter and Matthew, and it's just really fun to see them just shining in their element. So there is one part of the episode where I'm going to show you real quick. You see there's a couple, there are a couple cuts that seem right on top of each other. Almost a little jarring, like the camera's jumping all over the place. I don't think it's necessarily anything wrong with the editing. It just feels a little slightly off because of how the camera's just bouncing from one position to another in a short amount of time. The next part of the story, the disciples and Jesus go to visit this man who's like partially lame. It's almost a little jarring because it like the story jumps from this one like flow of the story to this man that before was completely disconnected from the story, except for he was the person who owned the field that James and John plowed. And that's something that I kind of noticed. The first like part of this is kind of hard to follow. And it's like all these different random things happening where you have like James and John plowing the field, you meet Thomas and then the disciples with Jesus going missing. It seems like they're all kind of disconnected and they're not really, but for like the first half of the episode, it just feels kind of hard to follow. And so when it throws in this next character, this man who's partially lame, it just feels a little disconnected. He's not really in the story for much more of a reason than to drive one of the messages, which Jesus goes to him with a message of forgiveness, with a message of redemption, but it still feels somehow a little disconnected from the story where I wish they could have made this character a little more connected to the world that Jesus is in. Maybe that's one of the powerful elements where he's going outside of his world to speak to this person so that man doesn't need to be connected. It just felt a little disconnected, and I don't know if that's just me.
James and John took their sweet time coming to help us.
I had to call for help 5 times before you moved.
Let's go!
But the story gets a little more interesting after this. We see the disciples arguing over whatever, you know, the disciples like to argue, I guess. It just kind of happens sometimes. They feel like Jesus keeps going missing. And James and John somehow, bad idea, think that they need to manage Jesus's time more efficiently so he can stop going missing. And so they go out to Jesus to talk to him, which results in a little bit of a tangle that honestly just had me laughing.
Let us do something.
What would that achieve?
Defending your honor.
They reviled and humiliated you.
They deserve to have bolts of lightning rain down and incinerate them!
Yes, fire from the heavens.
Fire.
You said we could do things like that. Say the word, and it will happen.
Yeah, that's where we get the name of the episode. Thunder, because Jesus gives them the nickname the Sons of Thunder. So without over elaborating on what happens in this episode, that's a basic synopsis. I think that this is a great episode to start off season 2. In a nutshell, I do feel like it's not one of their strongest episodes, where it's just, I feel like it doesn't culminate in as powerful of a moment as I was expecting. It feels like almost in some way like a lot of different random things happening that don't tie together as well as I feel they could. With that said, it's still a great episode. It's just my only critique, really, that I could critique it for is just the fact that The Chosen is so over the top on its level that this episode just falls a little bit below that bar that's almost impossible to reach anyway. So it's not that it's bad in any way. It's just that the standard is already so high, it's hard to keep that standard. I know, I'm almost sure the other episodes are going to keep that standard. This episode, beautiful sets. It looks beautiful visually. Again, continues to tackle deep and thought-provoking topics. It excels in a lot of different ways, so I really can't criticize it for much other than a few minor things here and there. Oh, and I'm totally going to remember.
So why do you think he likes me best?
For the same reasons I like you best. You pose no threat to anyone, intellectually or physically.
Thank you, brother. Wait a second.
For the same reason I like you best. You pose no threat to anyone intellectually or physically.
What?
I'm making a video, so you're going to be part of my outro. Can you tell everyone to subscribe to my YouTube channel?
I just got laughing.
Bro, tell everyone to subscribe to my YouTube channel first, please.
Come on, bro.
I'm not kidding! I gotta end this video! You're driving up my view time because you won't say it. Please just say it, please!
Bro, come on.
Okay, what he really means, guys, is subscribe to my YouTube channel and have a great day.
I'm sorry.